Hello, welcome to the GPL webinar. We are doing a webinar which is on emanating self-esteem in the workforce, and we have Chuck Forte presenting. He's the founder of Forte Design. Just a little bit about GPL Technologies. I know most of you should know us, but if you don't, GPL Technologies is customized IT services for creatives. We design, implement, and support innovative solutions that are tailored to your business goals and needs. And we provide many services, and the services that we provide are managed services, where we can scale your creative power with managed IT support. We do hardware as a service, which we call VFX Now, and that is our rentals division. So we have hardware on demand plus the engineering support. We also do infrastructure solutions, where we do consulting, and then we do the infrastructure design and deployment of services for you. Another division is technical staffing, which we call Breed, and we do direct placement, contract staffing, and contract to hire. So that's just a few things that we do, and we work with many fantastic partners. And one of the people that we're currently working with is Chuck Forte. And just a little introduction, Chuck is good friends with Brian, and they were sort of talking about SharePoint, Office 360 and SharePoint over coffee. And Chuck was really surprised to discover that Brian, who is involved in so much private data center installation, would have so many clients in the cloud with respect to email hosting. So Chuck was also surprised to discover that the GPL clients were running on the Microsoft Office 365 cloud platform. And so Chuck works in SharePoint and realized that it might make sense to partner with GPL and provide additional services to GPL clients who might be interested in some corporate intranet and collaboration platform. So Chuck's going to do an introduction to SharePoint, and he has some fantastic information. We currently use SharePoint at the GPL office, and all this information that Chuck has, like even for myself, has just been very interesting, and I think you guys will find it very interesting. And so I'm going to hand it over to Chuck Forte. He is the owner and founder of Forte Design, which is based here in Los Angeles, and he's going to tell you some great stuff.
Just to follow up a little bit on some of these discussions with Brian, we were just kind of talking shop and just kind of realized how much companies focus on technologies and often take little time to think about the ramifications of their decisions. So having a good, hooking into Office 365 and buying a platform, but not maybe knowing how to use it or knowing, all the benefits, the idea was that, maybe we could come together and offer a partnering kind of solution where maybe Brian's handling the email exchange, but maybe the company, maybe somebody on this call is looking to have a corporate intranet or find ways to collaborate more effectively. And here, maybe just a little bit about me. Over my years, I've been probably working in SharePoint for about 15 years, originally on SharePoint and now on the Office 365 platform. And what I've always liked was the idea of creating solutions that enable companies to support their employees. So a couple things have stood out, though. I find it really interesting that in today's day and age, that companies still want to hire, if you go out and look in the job postings, they still want to hire a .NET developer for things like collaboration and a corporate intranet. So with that said, everything I'm going to show you today I did without coding. I didn't use Visual Studio. I didn't need special developer tools or app plugins. This is just stuff you can do directly through the website. It might look a little boring and bland to you, and I know we have a lot of folks from creative companies on here, but at the end I'll be happy to show you a portfolio of how we can spruce up your SharePoint and make it look a little more exciting and vibrant. So today we're going to focus on concepts and general ideas. I also want to point out two other little stories. One is sometimes I do work with clients that are really excited, and I engage with like a corporate communications team, and they're very enthusiastic to start and roll out something, but then they cringe at the idea of actually allowing their employees to interact They feel maybe threatened by the idea of social. They don't want employees to be able to just do things on the fly, and they want to have a little bit of control. So I try to promote the concept of sharing, and everything we show on here is going to be pretty easy to share. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to lock things down or make things secure if we need to. And I've seen the downside too, where we're close to rolling out a great solution, and then the delay happens because of something trivial, like the location of the logo at the bottom or top of the page causes a problem. So I want to watch out for things like that. I've also seen some really amazing wins. One brief example is one of my clients manages worldwide property. They need to track non-disclosure agreements for potential multi-million-dollar property sales. And they use Sharepoint as a mission-critical application to keep track of all the potential deals that are going into the system and to send out notifications when something like a non-disclosure agreement or a compliance agreement has expired or met one of their other decision criteria. Another thing that I try to focus on is, despite the technology, I'm always trying to think about how it is affecting the organization. So I spend a lot of time reading reference materials. Who Moved My Cheese was like the first book I read 15 years ago about organizational change. There's links in here, and I'm happy to send them out after this presentation. But what are traits of a great manager, or 8 tips to engage your employees? So just so happened that I was looking at this one about 6 pillars of self-esteem, and it seemed like when I met with Brian, like, gosh, if I'm going to do a presentation, wouldn't it be cool to kind of map something together that goes with the presentation that's not just here's SharePoint 101, but just to kind of make it a little more fun. So I'm throwing this out there. You can go follow the links later on, or read up on these yourself. So one of the challenges, or the reason for this presentation, the way I'm putting this together, is that lots of people are looking to improve themselves. And maybe you read a self-help book, but all of a sudden you go into your office or you begin your day, you leave your bedroom, and you're confronted with real-world challenges. And so my challenge here was to think about, are there ways that a company can promote healthy self-esteem habits for employees? And I'm just going to briefly go through these 6 pillars of self-esteem just to kind of use it for kind of setting the stage for the demo. I only have like 2 more slides to go. It's mostly all demo. But I just wanted to walk through these real quick so that we're all on the same page. The practice of living consciously. Do you wake up and begin your day feeling disconnected, zoned out, or lacking focus? Or do you wake up and show gratitude, attention, passion, and excitement? Are you staying present with your friends, family, and colleagues? Number 2, practice of self-responsibility. Are you doing things to be physically and mentally healthy? Are you taking care of yourself? And does your company, and again, I'm going to kind of interject in a few things here, like how this might apply to a company. Does your company have things like benefit plans and assistance programs? How are they promoted, and do you take advantage of them? The third one, the practice of self-acceptance. Do you complain about things in your work and life that you can't or refuse to change? Or would it be great if you could make a difference somewhere? Is there something you really wish you could do? Take charge or make an action. The practice of self-assertiveness. There's only 6 of these, so I'm almost done. Number 6. Do you stand by your work and your convictions? I've seen it many times where employees do great work only to hide their files and corporate drives buried deep inside folder after folder after folder, never to be seen again. Or do you want to promote a company of sharing ideas, knowledge, and information with your colleagues? The practice of living purposely. What's your purpose? What are you passionate when you go to work? Or are you indifferent? Does your company set a tone that promotes innovation and entrepreneurship, which to me is like, what are you doing all day? What are your projects you're working on, and are you actively engaged in them? And the last one is the practice of personal integrity, which is, are you personally doing things on your part to contribute? Are you sticking to your word? Are you living by your word and meeting your commitments, tasks, and responsibilities? Again, these are meant to be the practice, meaning that they are things that we focus on a daily basis. Nobody's perfect, but the idea is, would there be ways that we can help it so we're all swimming in the same direction, that when you go to work, that the things that you're trying to do are being supported by the company you're at? So I'm going to just use these 6 pillars and just kind of apply them through different little solution demos in the next couple of minutes here. For living consciously, we're going to talk about news and social participation. The practice of self-responsibility is an HR and a benefit page. Self-acceptance I'm just going to do a quick interest matching list. It shows like maybe you're looking for improvement, and maybe you want a mentor. Maybe you're looking just to find a way to carpool to work. Self-assertiveness. Are you hiding those documents, or are you making them searchable? Purposely living. That's the one we talked about a few minutes ago about are you actively involved in your projects, and do you know what you're working on? And then, of course, personal integrity. Are you staying up to date via calendars and tasks? So again, a lot of these features come in SharePoint and Office 365. And with that, I just want to have just a couple more expectations and assumptions. So I'm not going to cover everything in SharePoint today. It is a huge platform, and there's way too much to cover. It's also pretty frustrating if you haven't used the product. You don't know where to start. There's not a lot of great instruction. There's no one way to do it. Every company is different and has different expectations. And SharePoint is a business transformation tool, meaning that you might think you're deploying it and everything's good, but you don't know whose jobs you're affecting behind the scenes or changing the way people used to do things, and it could be confusing and cause trouble. And everything I'm going to show here can be set up in a matter of days. Again, I'm focusing on concepts and not the visual design, branding. Every company that we're on the phone with, you probably have your own visual styles, guidelines, logos, and so forth. I don't want to focus on that today, but at the end, like I said, I'm happy to show out the portfolio. A couple other assumptions. When I'm speaking with Brian, maybe you are one of GPL's clients and you're already on the Office 365 platform. You might already be using other tools like Box, Trello, Slack, Basecamp, Dropbox, Google Docs. Many might be free, but others might entail a charge for more advanced features and capabilities. But if you already purchased the SharePoint Office 365 product platform, maybe this demo will convince you to consider using some of these other tools. So you could probably do a lot of that same stuff in these other products. Maybe you can tie it together, but my hope is that this demo shows that this full ecosystem working together might actually be a good solution for some of you. Okay, last couple things here. Again, to mention, this is not a training class. I'm not a developer. Everything I did here was done directly through the web. Again, no Visual Studio, no custom development, no third-party apps. And I did that on purpose because a lot of companies that are running Office 365 may be small or medium-sized businesses and don't have maybe a $20,000 or $50,000 budget to do a whole bunch of branding and custom development of their solution, and they just really want to get going so their team can operate more effectively. And if you do want to reference down here, the Mobile and Intelligent Internet is a good article about a lot of the new features coming out in Office 365. Okay, so that's it for the slides. I'm just going to go straight into the demo here. So I'm going to just go directly into, this is all demo environment. You're going to see a lot of stuff from Chuck at Forte Design because I'm really the only person in the demo environment, and again, I'm focusing on concepts and just to kind of show how things could work. And in your company, you might have 300 employees or 3,000, and it's just a matter of increasing the number of projects, documents, people involved in this items. But everything, of course, is completely scalable for hundreds, if not thousands, of employees. So I'm going to hop over to, I'm going to call this my SharePoint homepage. This is kind of my corporate landing page. So going down my pillars, in my first demo, we were talking about the idea of living consciously. So you get to the office in the morning and you want to maybe read about the latest news and events that have been going on. Maybe there was a volunteer event over the weekend. You want to read up about it. Maybe there's a follow-up survey about how things went. You could follow the survey. Maybe there was a promotion in your office and it was promoted, and oh, Carolyn Dempsey was promoted to Director of Marketing. Great job. Maybe you want to say something about that. Hey, what's going on? And we could say, hey, Carolyn, great job. Posted directly from the page. Or if we wanted to, we could always hop over to our Yammer. Hey, Caroline, great job. Of course, I can search on here too. I wanted to search and find all the conversations related to Carolyn's new promotion. So it's one example of kind of living kind of in that gratitude moment, being focused and sharing with your company and being aware of what's going on. The other thing I wanted to point out about this landing page is you could set up your corporate intranet to provide access to all the different services that your employees might need. There could be things like procurement, travel expenses, credit cards, IT service requests. For today's demo, I put the links that I'm going to be using in here. Maybe you want to have another section about company values and office locations. And if you're more traditional, maybe you also have departments that have specific content you want to share. The second one I want to talk about in the demo was around that idea of self-responsibility. And for this one, I thought, well, why don't we use HR and benefits? Because every employee should be aware of like taking care of themselves, their family, making sure that they've done the basics for being aware of things. Oh, the one thing I can notice is, oh, open enrollment is beginning, so maybe it's a good time for me to see what's going on. So I'll hop over into my benefits site, or sorry, page. Quickly see access to all the company benefit websites that we're using, maybe find out about our payroll and compensation, or maybe I'm looking to do some talent management. And again, all this is built just with out-of-the-box features. I can launch presentations directly right here. Full screen.
Hello everyone, it is July and we have the July release of Power BI Desktop.
So maybe I want to have a website, a page dedicated to training videos. Maybe we're rolling out a new product and you want your employees on the customer service team to be up to date. Go ahead and add your training videos. So in my scenario, I'm actually looking to do something with open enrollment, and we have changes to our stock purchase plan. So I'm going to do a search. And I can search right in here in my HR documents. Type of stock. And I can find my document. Or maybe there's a lot of documents. I might want to just filter by just show me just the forms, because maybe I want to update all my forms. And so dynamically, I'm able to get to my information quite quickly. And all these headings are, of course, searchable and sortable. Sending, descending, whatever I want to do. I mentioned this, that you don't see me using a lot of folders, because a lot of times this to me works the same as a folder. I can, instead of having a forms folder or a reference folder, I can just create a tag. And this tag will come back later when I talk about searching and future refining. But I don't want responsibility only to rest with the employee. There's also a responsibility of the HR department to provide accurate information and documentation. So in my demo, I wanted to do a few other things here, which could be as simple as going out to the documents where these reside. I might have a corporate library, and these are, in my scenario, these are all published, approved documents that all employees should have access to. Maybe there's a usage guide for the IT. There's stuff in accounting, and there's stuff in human resources for my demo. So on my desktop, I have another document, and I can just drag it over. Something I was working on, maybe it's the new 2016-2017 benefit compensation plan. I dropped it in here somewhere. Where'd it go? Demo 5. Okay. It dropped it in the wrong place, but that's not a problem. I can always switch over the view. Switch the library into a quick edit mode. And I can go find any of these documents. So that was Demo 5 I was working on. That was actually not in accounting. It's actually going to go in human resources. And I could say this is Chuck's demo. We'll say it's an employee benefit. And let's also say it's another form. And just like that, I've updated my documentation. So demo for HR 5, that was just a document I threw out there, which is browse back over here to our HR site. And here's our new HR 5 document. That quickly, and it's tagged and available for all the employees to find. I did a couple things here. I did show some documents in PDF, because oftentimes things like these vision service plans may come from like an external company, maybe you're using Cigna or Blue Cross or something, so most likely they come to you in PDF. But you can, of course, use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, anything you want to put here, and any of the text is, of course, searchable. I also wanted to show one other thing here, which is that I can actually use SharePoint just like I'm in Windows Explorer. So here's another window I had open on my desktop, and I'm just going to refresh it now because I know we added that new file. And here's that demo HR file 5. So if you're used to using Box or Dropbox or one of those tools, change the name, whatever you want to do. I can make a change to the file name and just go back over here, and because these are synchronized, I'm just looking at another view of the same documents, one using Windows Explorer. I always find people say, oh, well, Box has Windows Explorer capabilities and so does Dropbox. And I'm like, well, SharePoint's had that for years. So here's the change the name file, which you just saw me update a second ago, just using my normal Windows Explorer. And there's different, I'm not going to go into the details, but there's different ways. There's the whole synchronizing of your OneDrives. There's also just copying a library and making a share that you can hook up as like a network share. And there's just different options, but certainly can do anything you've done before if you've used Box or Dropbox for those same capabilities. All right, I'm going to switch over to my third demo here. I'm trying to be aware of time, so I'm going to go a little quicker here in some of these. But this is just a custom list. Anything you want to build in SharePoint, you can create in a matter of minutes in terms of list collection. In this case, I created what I want to do is like, what if I'm looking for self-improvement and I want someone to mentor me? I can set up a list of mentoring. I can say, I'm available to mentor, or these people are looking for mentors wanted. Again, I'm not cloned. I was just using one account just to kind of demonstrate, but you can imagine this is Bob, Sam, Sally, and Jane. And you can include the notes and so forth. Maybe you want to put the location. Or maybe you're interested in doing volunteer work. You can set up another view of the data and say, who's interested in volunteering? I'm interested, and maybe you want to lead activities. And all these, of course, can be filtered and sorted. Or maybe you're looking to do something with respect to carpooling, and you want to see where people live. Now, some disclaimers here. I'm not actually collecting people's address. If you want to be private, you can just drop your pin at the nearby Starbucks. But if you are looking to carpool, you could find somebody in a different location and hover over these maps and figure out where you want to go. You can also see where we have different work offices. In this case, we have a Culver City and a downtown Los Angeles office. And you can see the data is live and interactive. And to just add a new item is a matter of simple as just clicking, add, filling in the details of what you want to do. Any notes, whether you want to volunteer. And we do have to provide a name since I'm just using my demo account here. I'll just put my name in, it autofills. And again, I can specify home and work locations using Bing lookup and or even a Google. Anytime you can get a latitude and longitude location, you can just paste them in here and put it together. So going back to the idea of why this is important in terms of like the self-improvement, which is, you might be at work and say, God, I really wish there was a carpooling tool. Well, make your own. It doesn't take much. Or create a survey, or whatever it is that you think you might want to have in there. Another thing I did here was created a quick survey. So we did a volunteer event recently, and I wanted to get feedback on the survey. Simply click it. I'm going to read the news story and take the follow-up survey. Okay, now this is just a demo survey. It's not real, but it just shows the idea of how quickly I can set up an online form for a survey. Put in some drop-downs, put in some notes, and submit a survey. That's it. That was pretty quick. So again, my idea for that is that there's a lot of things you can build on the fly that just take a few minutes, and you can easily integrate them into your navigation, into an announcement. You can send it out as a link in your email, of course, whatever works for you. Okay. Number 4 is one that's a little bit harder sometimes to see, but I'll do my best to kind of walk through. If you haven't used SharePoint, or if you have, search has never been Microsoft's strong point. There's another company called Google that's known for search. And it surprises me sometimes how I'll go work at a client and they don't care about having very solid search results. So with just a couple hours of work, you can set up additional search refiners. You can customize your search results to do a lot more powerful things than the default experience. With that being said, I think of this as like the Amazon.com experience for shopping. You'd spend a lot of time working on your documents, so why not make it searchable so people can find information? So I can work off refiners. So remember those HR documents that we saw so eloquently tagged before? I can click here and see those same documents already filtered. I can even go here and do forms. I can go so far as not even to need to put the documents on the HR page, but just simply put a web part that displays this preset filter to get to the same documents. I'm just showing you some different avenues for getting to them. I have a cheap way of resetting the page here right now, but I can, of course, do an in-page refresh. If I have more time, I'll set that up. I can also do things by search for documents within a particular project. So maybe I'm working in a particular project and I'm looking for something. So I'm looking for a sample test plan. And I still get too many results back because a lot of my documents I'm copying over because it's test. So I can also refine my search down to a particular project. And I'll say, okay, well, it's still a couple more. Well, I know I'm looking for an Excel spreadsheet. And I can narrow down and access my document. And as you can see, I can get previews over there as well of my sample. Not a lot in these documents. In case you're curious too, all these things we're doing with search can also be controlled if you're working in a, if you're in a law firm and you have private data you can't share across with the entire company. Of course, anything can be secured in SharePoint, and all of the security settings apply first before the search results come back. So again, you're not actually going to see things that you don't have access to. In this case, it's a demo, so everything is fully read-only, read accessible for everybody. Oh, and I did what I mentioned. It's common. I've seen that a lot too, where people will have an HR dashboard and want to manually put links to every single document all over the place, as opposed to just using what SharePoint already provides, which is it dynamically builds the link for you when you add the file. You don't have to go manually add links, especially every time the file name changes. We want to just change the name and make sure they stay up to date. So sometimes using the built-in capabilities is an enhancement for that. The next one I want to talk about was the idea of living purposely, and that was through projects. Maybe you have a company that has like a project management office. Maybe you are working on creative projects for 10 different movie studios, and you want to be able to track them. You could list out your projects, provide project summaries, maybe start and end dates of the projects, even include the priority of the status of the project, budgets, whatever you want to do. You can have different views, maybe switch to a Gantt chart and show when projects are starting. Maybe you want to see another view that shows the newest projects that were approved. And you can see yesterday 4 new projects were approved in my demo. And again, all these could be, of course, used for sorting. And you can edit all the data, again, if you have the right access. Put in the person's name or a missing field. And if you ever did want to really work with the data outside or take it, you can always export it to Excel and open up an Excel spreadsheet of your data. Either one works. So in my case, I have some projects out here. I'm a new employee, and I was told I'm working on project 1. I can come here to this project list, which again, I just simply browsed over, add a link to go to projects, and I'm working on project 1. I go ahead and click on it, and I'm taken into my sample project. It's just as easy to click back in all these projects so that we don't get lost in a labyrinth. You can always have the same navigation to go back to wherever you started. So if I wanted to go back to the projects and go to project 2, 3, or 4, I could just click to go back up, find the next one I want to, and dive back in. Now I'm going to segue to the last one, which is around personal integrity. So maybe you're working on a project and you get assigned a task. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new task. And let's say it's due tomorrow. Or I'm starting it tomorrow and I'll do it tomorrow. And I'm going to assign it to myself because I'm the only user in my system. I have the ability to show more fields here. This is the GPL demo task, whatever, or complete the wireframe, whatever you're working on today. And I'm going to say this is a high priority. And it's now in progress, and I'll save it. So now I have a task running. I can take this task list, again, sticking to this pillar number 6 around personal integrity. I want to be responsible for the work I have to do. But I also like to work in Outlook, so I can do a quick connect over. Bring up these tasks in my Outlook. So here's my normal mail. And here's my task list. Hop on over. Here's my new task for the GPL demo. So I've completed the work. One second as it loads. Put whatever you want in here. But I have questions. Whatever you want to do. Put in your own messages. I'm not typing too well since I'm doing a demo. Save and close. Spin right back over here. And next time if someone comes to the site, the project manager or you can come in here and see that I've synchronized directly from my Outlook client back into the Sharepoint site in real time. So there we go. Related to that is the idea of, well, what about a calendar? We could do the whole calendar too. So back on the home page, we have this company calendar of upcoming events, but maybe I want to look at a different view of the calendar. I see we have a campaign coming up, we have open enrollment, so I can have different views to sort and categorize things by meetings, key dates, view all events if I want to at the same time in a list form. Maybe you want to see what's coming up for the year. And I can also take this list of events, do the same thing here and connect it to Outlook. Then I can bring this over in my Outlook and you can see those same events that we just showed you. Let's go to the month view and show them a little better. Here's the demo. Here's the developer conference. Here's the open enrollment begins. Here's the payroll date. And I can see how it matches with my schedule. I actually have another calendar I use completely for another one of my clients, and I can actually overlay, several calendars if I want to see everything at once, what's coming up, and I can switch the views to weekly, to the work week. And again, I'm just overlaying a Sharepoint calendar, and so if I update the data, in this calendar, it's going to reflect in my Outlook. So if you're used to working in an Outlook client, your Sharepoint doesn't necessarily mean you have to do everything on the web browser. You can kind of work between the two different platforms. Well, that was it for the demo. I did want to show 2 or 3 little things here just to make sure I'll kind of level set. This Sharepoint action bar has all these different things, and maybe you've heard of OneDrive. I was really just focused on the Sharepoint aspects today. I didn't go into things like Sway and Delve, but there are a lot of other ways that Microsoft is adding these enhanced capabilities to do different things. So one of the things like Delve provides is the ability to kind of see the things you're most actively and recently working on. I can think of it as like your Pinterest page of things that you do for work. I can see some of the recent documents. I can see that I added a new event. I know I added a conference. I uploaded some documents. I added a survey. So I can kind of see at a glance things I've been working on recently. So again, instead of having to worry about going to lots of places, Microsoft is also putting in technologies now to make it easier just to find the stuff you're working on. And had we have 20 employees in here, we could actually see people that I'm closely working on and can see their popular documents as well. But I haven't enabled this feature. And the last thing, because I do know that you are probably a lot of working in Visual Studio and are maybe more visually oriented, I did want to show you this is another product called Sway. It's kind of a PowerPoint online more advanced way of viewing. It might be kind of fun. They're short URLs that you can send out. You can embed them anywhere. You can determine how you want to use it. And they have some examples here, but I just wanted to show out real quick a couple in the last minute here, just the fact that we can make SharePoint look however you want, but I'd really like to focus on having the pillars of a healthy work environment in place first, not to, I would hate to delay a launch because of a logo or a color scheme, but if you do want something to look pretty, Forte Design does offer everything from web content management to building forms, workflows, BI, custom integration development. It's not me. I have a team of other people I work with, and designers and web developers and so forth if we do need some more advanced capabilities. And just to show, these are just other Office 365 sites that I've built or designed and implemented, and you can just kind of look at and see that some of the look and feel changes, lots of metadata tagging behind the scenes. I'm just going to go quickly through some of these. These are some work I did at Microsoft. Maybe you want rotating banners, or you want a much more pop to your landing site. You want to color code all your different types of events. Maybe you want to embed a newsletter with a news feed next to it. Or maybe you just need like a services dashboard for everyone to find information on the team. And of course, we didn't show all the features, but SharePoint has the things such like the Power BI, if you want to do reports and data visualization, connect all this together. A couple more examples here, building forms. Maybe you have to build an IT service request form. You can easily build these things in the cloud as well. And you can make them look pretty. You can change the layout and design of your sites and not even look like SharePoint at all. And just a few other examples here, a mentoring site for another one of my clients, some other SharePoint designs, building some for different looks and feels. You can just kind of put any kind of Chrome or visual experience on top of it, however you want to brand it. And it goes on and on. So that's kind of it. Anyhow, I just thought this was kind of a nifty little tool. This is built in Sway. Essentially, you kind of build it, put in your content, and Microsoft handles the rest of the design, and it's kind of a quick way to send out a link to somebody if you do have a presentation or a portfolio online that you want to share out. You can certainly share it out with external users as well, not just with your employees. Okay, well, Melissa, I think I'm good and ready for questions if there are any.
There are questions. We have a couple of questions from Julie Hahn. They kind of all interlink, so I'll tell you all three. So she's asking, is it possible to designate an uploaded file to a specific location, such as your file server? If yes, can it be just a link to the file location?
Yes. In fact, one of the new features in SharePoint document libraries that came out is, and I could imagine if you are in a creative company and you're working with large video files or animations, you're not going to want to put them in SharePoint. You're probably going to have your own external media server. And you can certainly add a link now directly into a SharePoint document library if you want to. So I could link to a YouTube video or to any type of media file that I have. I could probably do a quick demo. I was having an issue with this today because I was switching between the traditional SharePoint view and the new advanced one. And so here's an example where I can just embed a link directly into a document library, which would then, of course, launch a website. But it could be a media file. It could be anything you want. And you can, of course, add manual links outside of the library as well. So hopefully that kind of answered that question. But I would expect that that would be the case for a lot of media companies, that you wouldn't want to use SharePoint to store those types of files. You would use SharePoint maybe to manage your projects, run your business, and then you would still probably have your proprietary technologies for that kind of content. But linking, definitely.
Great. And then she also wanted to know, additionally, what are the practical advantages between 365 versus on-premise? And can you give a brief walkthrough how the IT work request or ticketing system works? What was it developed from?
Okay, so two questions. Everything we're seeing here is the Office 365 in the cloud, and it seems like this is the future. The advantage of the cloud that I see is that as Microsoft continues to roll out new features and enhancements, you've got to get them automatically. So if they come up with something new, you're just going to get it. If they roll out a service pack, you don't have to have a system administrator managing your servers on premise, which is probably the reason why many of you went off of your Exchange servers and went to Exchange in the cloud for that exact reason. It's just a lot of, you don't have to spend your time worrying about all that maintenance, backups, and data center work. I know companies that want to stay on premise because maybe they're very secure and they're very concerned about having their information in the cloud. I guess you could argue it both ways. I've also heard that Microsoft's data centers are some of the most secure and thorough data centers in the world, if not the most secure. And I've also seen companies that have data centers where they just put their servers in like the kitchen. So, how secure do you need your content to be? As far as the question about the IT request form, you can do that in many different ways. You can just build anything from a InfoPath form. You can use the Excel spreadsheet that I showed you to create that survey, which is just a click away. Let me go back into that demo here for that project. Let's see if I have it here to show. I can create a survey right here, which could just be the same thing as, what is your IT request? Put in your questions. I need a new computer. So let's just say IT request form. And it's almost like a survey. You could fill in the information here of the questions. And I'll just do one question here to show request need. Maybe it's a choice. It's a new computer. Reset password. New working station. Whatever you want it to be. And you just created a form like that. This is one way. You could also use the list format. There's lots of ways to do it. And then, of course, you could share out that survey when you're ready to use it. So I don't have, SharePoint didn't come with a built-in IT request form, but you could build your own and put it in there. There's a lot of things I'm not showing behind the scenes around workflows and notifications, so you could send the form out, and then when it's filled out, you could have it route a message back saying your request has been accepted and will be responded to within 2 weeks. Here's your tracking number and so forth. You can build that with simple workflows behind the scenes.
So it looks like we've answered all the questions for today. If anyone else has any questions that they have or would require any more information, feel free to contact us at sales@gpltech.com, and we will direct you to Chuck and get you more information. We will most definitely be doing a follow-up with Chuck at some point and let you know about that. There's lots and lots of great information, and thank you so much for sharing this introduction on SharePoint with us. I know that as a SharePoint user, it's been very, very helpful. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Chuck.
And I'd also like to mention that I am doing this all on my real work computers. It's not a demo environment, so things you're seeing are happening in real time. Definitely can be integrated with more than one system. So if you are using a hybrid of more than one tool like Dropbox for the time being, you can certainly integrate both of them together and bring your files over. Maybe it's a transitional period.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, if you want follow-up information, contact us at sales@gpltech.com and we'll get in touch with you straight away. And we will keep you looped in with any more presentations that we do with Chuck in the future. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.